Welcome to English 9, reacting to lay value judgment on critical issues that demand sound analysis and call for prompt actions. Part 2, Quarter 4, Week 6. I'm Mr. Nel Pranzabalad and I'm your teacher for this course. So we have there an image of a teenage boy who suffers mental depression due to the reactions or hate comments that he's getting in his post in a particular social media app. So that issue is a certain issue that is being faced by our society nowadays. So the thing is for us to identify whether the issue being faced by that teenage boy is indeed a social issue. Okay, so let's find out how is it related to our discussion for this week.
For this week's most essential learning competency, we have the title itself, React to Lay Value Judgment on Critical Issues that Demand Sound Analysis and Call for Prompt Actions. And for the enabling competency, we have Relate text content to particular issues, concerns, and dispositions in real life. So we are going to study how are we going to make ourselves directed on certain actions that we will be doing after we lay value judgment on critical issue and the sound analysis dealing with it. Okay, so we have the dispositions in real life. Okay, so relate text content to particular issues, concerns, and of course having there the so-called dispositions in real life. Okay, so that would be all for the most essential learning competency and enabling competency. Every day, we encounter different situations or instances that directly or indirectly affect us. How should we react to this? What is the best thing for us to do? Have a quick look at some of the recent headlines below. So we have here three issues of Manila Bulletin newspaper. We will deal on the headlines or banner news of each issue. So first, we have UN declares war on COVID. Second, strict GCQ and NCR pushed. Third, PH economy shrinks 4.2% in first quarter. So dealing with the first headline, UN declares war on COVID. Does it affect you directly or indirectly? So maybe indirectly for you are not that much on supporting fighting the war on COVID, or maybe directly for you are following the protocols implemented by IATF and of course the one issued by the United Nations. So how are you going to react dealing with the issue? You are wholehearted on supporting it. Okay? Dealing with the second issue, strict GCQ and NCR pushed. So you are affected by it indirectly because we are living in Calabarzon. So indirectly, in a way that maybe we just have relatives working in the NCR, and of course they will be now going back to their work because it's general community quarantine, so there will be work again. So indirectly. And if it's going to be changed to strict GCQ and Calabarzon pushed, then it will be directly. And how are you going to support it? By again following the guidelines for the GCQ quarantine. Okay, the general community quarantine. Then, the third issue, PH economy shrinks 4.2% in first quarter. So are you directly or indirectly affected by it? So maybe indirectly for you're not feeling it that much, or maybe directly for you have their family members or relatives who have lost their jobs because of this pandemic, and you are now in a way suffering in the finances aspect in your family. Okay, so guide questions. What are the challenges that we are facing right now? Of course, we have the challenges brought to us by the COVID-19 pandemic. Then, is this happening only in our country or also in other parts of the world? So it is happening not just in our country, but all all the countries in the world. So what's the good thing about this activity? We're able to what? We're able to learn that an issue becomes an issue whenever it is being faced by a group of people, and it is not just felt by certain group or in one place, but actually it is being experienced in many places. Na? So those are what considerations on determining whether you are really facing a social issue or not. Okay, so let's talk about what are the factors on determining whether it is really a social issue that you are facing. Okay, so let's have the next slide. These social issues are prevalent and you should be aware of them. Social issue is a concern or problem recognized by the society and it prevents people from functioning at an optimal level. It is important to understand that not all things that occur in the society are raised to the level of social problem. Now let's have the four factors characterizing social problem or issue. So the first factor, the society must recognize the situation as a problem. That's why you have there an image of people protesting about something. So meaning to say, it's not only you who's recognizing a certain problem as an issue, but even other people. So you are not just alone on that page or on that situation, but there are other people who are also experiencing it. So if it is like that, then it is a social issue that you are facing. Okay? So that's the first factor on characterizing social problem or issue. Second factor, the situation is against the general values accepted by the society. So look at the editorial cartoon. We have there the Tarlac murders and the war on drugs. So both issues are indeed social issues because they present social problems that are really what against the general values accepted by the society, wherein you have the law enforcers who are inflicting harm or death to people instead of protection. So it goes against they go against the general values accepted by the society. So if if that thing is present in a situation or in an issue, then indeed that issue is a social issue. Okay, let's have the third factor. Third factor, a large segment of the population recognizes the problem as a valid concern. So we have here two editorial cartoons. The first one shows, or the first editorial cartoon shows the issue dealing with the uh, press freedom, and of course you have there a large segment of the population that considers it as a valid concern that indeed the press should be given the freedom to express the truth to the public and not to be stopped by, of course, by some people who will be benefiting from that action. The second editorial cartoon has something to do with the Asian hate, wherein you have there the cartoon, editorial cartoon for former President Trump, who seemed to be tolerating the Asian hate happening in his country. So that is again what? Considered a valid concern by a large segment of the population. Okay, so a large segment of the population recognizes that Asian hate as a valid concern. Okay, so that's the third factor on determining whether an issue is a social or or a social issue or a social problem. Okay, let's have the last factor. The last factor is the problem can be rectified or alleviated through the joint action of citizens and or community resources. So just like what we have there, first editorial cartoon shows what a group of people protesting or talking about stopping the Asian hate. So you have there the joint action of citizens. And in the second cartoon, you have there what? You have there the image of, it seems, President Duterte trying to console a family member of those who were killed, dealing with dealing with dealing with the war on drugs, or the EJK, the extrajudicial killings. So behind that image, you have the group of people like the advocates of human rights and international human rights advocates who are wanting to put a stop on that scene, na the scene of of camouflaging or covering the issue, not covering the real situation. So if you have the joint action of citizens or community resources to rectify or alleviate the problem, then that is a social issue or a social problem. So those are the four factors on determining whether an issue is a social issue or social problem. Okay? Learning task 1. Look at the pictures below taken from Rappler and identify the social issues they depict. So write your answer on the blanks. So for the first image, we have the widespread of fake news. So we will write there fake news or responsible journalism, because just like what the image shows, you have there a person who's confused and who's really exposed to many articles or news. The question is, are the articles being read or exposed to that person are valid or truthful articles? So you have there the issue dealing with fake news, the widespread of fake news, and of course, responsible journalism. The second image depicts there an image of a person who's being backstabbed or being gossiped around by the people around her. So the issue has something to do with the hate comments, mental depression, or it can be an issue dealing with moral defamation or libel cases, spreading fake comments about a person. So libelous, is it? Libelous. So done with learning task 1, numbers 1 and 2. Number 3, let's have this image. The Muslim looking woman who's holding an empty plate. So the image depicts the issue on poverty or starvation, especially those who are in relocation sites or in places affected of wars. So you have there the issue pointing out the starvation or poverty experienced by some people. Then this last image has something to do with a community pantry, and having here maybe they are what? They are press people who are annoyed by this girl distributing the food package. Food package for maybe she's a future candidate in the 2022 election. So these press people are reporting about it to the public or they are having a live coverage talking about the community pantry. Okay, so the issue has something to do with the community pantry that has become a talk of the town in the past months. Okay, so done with learning task 1. We are now on task 2, learning task 2. Read the following news article published by Rappler.com and answer the questions that follow. Just saying, the West Philippine Sea must be saved, published on April 19, 2021. China's communist officials may have thoroughly studied President Duterte's psyche and concluded that he cannot talk tough against China in the same way he talks tough against his own people. The West Philippine Sea is again center stage in addition to COVID-19. In international law, there are four stages in case of international conflict, short of war, which the Philippines must undertake. First, the Philippines should alert the world of the impending trouble. This is what is called noisy but not belligerent diplomacy. President Aquino did that after exhausting to solve the problem through silent diplomacy. As head of state, he openly called China a bully. He criticized China's intrusion, publicly declaring that China's movements in the South China Sea were comparable to Nazi Germany's expansionist agenda before World War II. By his pronouncements, President Aquino warned the international community that the issues are not only a localized problem but an international concern. He did the right move. Second, if nothing happens, a case should be filed with the International Tribunal. President Aquino's administration filed a case before the Hague International Tribunal, resulting in a victory for the Philippines. The landmark decision was hailed all over the world. Third, upon receipt of the decision, the Philippines must openly urge the losing country to abide immediately and strictly by the decision, with an admonition that noncompliance will result in further international recourse. President Duterte failed to do this upon official receipt of the West Philippine Sea ruling by his administration in the early part of its term. China's garrisons and missiles strategically positioned in the South China Sea must be met by, at the very least, the Philippines' overt act manifesting the preparedness to invoke and operationalize the BFA and the MDT. China's awareness of a definitive retaliatory response from the U.S. Pursuant to the latter's BFA and MDT commitments in case of an attack on the Philippines can be an effective deterrent. The Philippines is in a serious mess. If not corrected, it will worsen, leaving an ugly legacy of President Duterte's leadership, or, to be more precise, lack of it in the West Philippine Sea. A Pacticity second only to Japan's Second World War, Philippine occupation. So the West Philippine Sea must be saved. That's according to Mel Santa Maria, the author of the said article. So questions. What issue is discussed in the article that you have read? The issue that is discussed in the article that I read has something to do with the saving of the West Philippine Sea, wherein you have there the strong stand or firm stand of the author that the Duterte administration should fight for the ruling or owning of the West Philippine Sea. Second, do you agree or disagree with the points given by the author? Why or why not? So the answer is yes. Now we can agree on the points presented by the author, for they really support the claim on having the saving of the West Philippine Sea. So the claim of the author is well discussed in the details or evidences that he or she has presented in the body of the article. Number three, as a Filipino, what is your stand about the issue in the West Philippine Sea? So, as a Filipino, personally, as I made myself aware of what's really going on by now in the West Philippine Sea, knowing that the China government has already built man-made islands and infrastructures there, so definitely the China government won't be easily giving up those man-made islands and infrastructures, for they already spent millions of dollars. So for me, the best thing to do is to negotiate to them, talk to them if possible, that the revenues or whatever resources they will be getting from our very own property will be shared to us, and not just be enjoyed by themselves. No, so that's the thing there. It has been ours, but we have done nothing on owning it or what guarding it. That's why it has been taken away from us. But if you will be reading more about it, the China is claiming that they had that old map, or way back then it was really part of their territory. But as what is said in the text, na, the international ruling already said that the Philippines owns it. So it's a matter of being that brave enough on asking the China government or the Chinese people to leave our territory and be firm on that decision, or talk to them, talk to them and negotiate about it in a peaceful way. Okay, in a peaceful manner. But if I will be asked personally, I'll just be asking them to share the benefits or the resources that are being harvested, or the profit gained by them making use of our territory. So the sad thing, it should be ours. But what we can do, no, the president himself, according to the text, is not doing anything about it. He's not that tough on telling the Chinese government about his stand dealing with the West Philippine Sea, unlike on how he delivers his words to us, the Filipino people, na. So he should be he should be tough also dealing with the issue regarding the West Philippine Sea, na, on saving the West Philippine Sea. Okay, done with learning task 2. So what's the learning dealing with this activity? It's a matter of knowing the details of an issue. So you must be able to know the ins and outs of the issue for you to come up with a sound analysis. Okay? Sound analysis, and after it, of course, the action. Okay? Done with learning task 2. Learning task 3. In your pad paper, copy and complete the organizer below. On the oval shapes, indicate the possible effects of the issues indicated on the rectangles. So you have here the cause, unemployment. What could be the effect of unemployment? Of course, you have the worsening of the stature or the status of people, wherein the more the people will suffer dealing with poverty. Then unemployment can lead to various crimes. For definitely people would love to survive the this particular pandemic, na. Of course, they need to eat 3 times a day, so they might result on doing crimes. So that's an effect of unemployment. Okay. Number two, online game addiction. The worst effect of it is death. So in the recent news, for the in the past months, we read news of teenagers dying because of online game addiction, and also you have their health risk. So that's one of the worst effect of online game addiction. Or it can be what? Less performance in academics in school, for the time allotted on doing school activities is being taken and used on playing online games. Number three, corruption. Corruption leads to miserable lives of people. For instead of benefiting from the amenities or from the projects supposed to be projects of the government, since the budget has been corrupted, then there's no such. So it results to more miserable lives of people, and effect of it, of course, losing the trust na to people who are indulging themselves to corruptions. Then bullying, the effect is what? Either breaking or making the lives of the victims. So breaking If the person being bullied is a weak-minded person, definitely the reception is negative, that it might lead to the killing of that person, it might lead to killing of himself or herself, because he or she has not able to manage the stress or depression caused by that bullying. Making of someone, if a person is intelligent enough, then that bullying will serve as inspiration, motivation to better himself or herself. Okay, so bullying, of course, the usual effect of it is what? Hurting someone's feeling, and of course, ruining someone's life. That's why bullying is a no-no. Okay, so done with learning task 3. Learning task 4. Imagine you are the principal in an institution. As the school head, how are you going to address the social issues that circulate in your school? So, in your pad paper, copy the table, write in the second column your suggested solution to the social issue indicated in the first column. So, we have the gender bias discrimination. The proposed solution would be reiterating the student's guidebook or handbook and pointing out the punishment for students who will be committing gender bias and discrimination actions in the school, and even in social media apps. Okay, so you have there the reiteration of the school's strong commitment against gender bias and discrimination. For overpopulation, so if the overpopulation has something to do with the number of students in every section, because the school is really famous, then the solution would be dividing the number of students in the section and having there the shifting of classes. Or maybe you have there the organization of seminars and trainings for teachers on making them that competent when it comes to catering every student in the classroom. But if the overpopulation has something to do with the overpopulation resulted by the number of children in the community, a good solution for it would be calling, no, or organizing as a seminar, or as is it a symposium, organizing a seminar, inviting the parents in the community and teaching them the importance of family planning. Okay, though the effect will not be felt instantly, but at least in the coming years it will be. Okay, so number 3, bullying. So you have there again the reiteration of the student handbook uh, to all to all the students, faculty members and staff. Also scheduling the parents visit in the school for them to attend also the lecture dealing with bullying, and what can be the possible punishments to those who will be committing it. Or you have there the what? You have there the strong commitment dealing with bullying, not just by posting posters against it, but also by instructing teachers to incorporate it in their teachings, particularly the ESP teachers or advisors of every section, now to discuss uh, that issue concerning bullying. Number 4, fake news. So as the school head, uh, of course, I will what? I will make sure that every news is being clarified among the students, particularly issues concerning the school. wherein fake news or gossips should not be entertained, wherein the school will have its official page posting there the stand of the school dealing with a certain issue or concern. Or I'll be calling the attention of the English teachers to discuss, not to discuss the competency on judging the validity and truthfulness of ideas or information from materials read or viewed. Now, so it can be like that. But of course, I'll begin it with myself that I won't be spreading gossips, fake news in the campus. That I'll be making it clear to every teacher that it should not be advocated or adhered to. Okay. Number five, child abuse. So of course you have the guidance office. So I'll be asking the guidance counselor to be that good on implementing programs that really support the stopping of the occurrence of child abuse in the school. Or it would be better also if I'll be calling the attention of the parents that child abuse thing lecture will not just be discussed among the students, but also inviting the parents of the learners or of the students in the school for them to listen on what are the different types of child abuses. Okay, so that would be all dealing with learning task 4. Assimilation. Social issues are problems that influence many citizens within a society. These are common problems at present and one of that many people strive to solve. Some of the common social issues and problems are enumerated in the graphic organizer. Significant people around you, like your family, can help you make good decisions, provide you with practical and emotional support, and encourage you in establishing your social identity. As a youth, your voice and actions are contributory to addressing and alleviating social issues. Therefore, it's important that you keep yourself abreast to relevant issues and be involved in your own simple ways. So, what are the common social issues? We have racial discrimination, child abuse, unemployment, overpopulation, bullying, corruption, poverty, alcohol, drugs, online game addiction. Okay? So again, social issues are problems that influence many citizens within a society. Okay. And as what is said here, therefore, it is important that you keep yourself abreast to relevant issues and be involved in your own simple ways. So as teenagers, you can do something dealing with social issues in your own simple ways. But if the issue has something to do with teenage pregnancy, of course, the decision lies on your hands. So you can really do something about that issue pertaining to teenage pregnancy. Okay? So then with assimilation. Assessment. Identify what type of issue is indicated in each number. Choose your answer from the list in the box. Write your answers on the spaces provided. Okay, so the choices are technology, sports, education, environmental, racism and prejudice, economic, political, peace and order, health and disease. Number one, inflation, that is economic. Climate change, environmental. Volatile prices, economic. Depressive disorders, health and disease. Freedom of media, political. Pollution, environmental. COVID-19 virus, health and disease. Number 8, killing of political activists, political. Number 9, racial discrimination, and of course that is racism and prejudice. Number 10, gender inequality, that is racism and prejudice. So done with assessment. Dealing with the reflection part, I do believe that for learning task 1, 2, 3, and 4, including the assessment, you will be drawing a star for you were able to do perform the task without any difficulty, and the task help you in understanding the target content lesson for this week's lesson. Okay? For this week's lecture. Thank you. Have a good day and God bless us all.